Welcome back everyone, and thank you for following this small tutorial series on how to set up your Ubuntu machine to run OpenClaw. Now, this is a PC for me and I don't really want to have extra monitors and keyboards around. So what I have been doing is, if you've been following my tutorials, I've gone ahead and activated SSH, but I also want to, in case I ever need to, I want to download something that will allow me to visually see what is going on in my computer if it's ever necessary. And so I highly recommend RustDesk. It is super straightforward. It's really nice. And this is kind of like TeamViewer, but it's open source. It's free, 100%. You just need to figure out which type it is that you need for your certain machine. And so in Ubuntu, we can go and figure this out by going towards the terminal and then running our command to make sure that we know what kind of system we're running on and which version we need here. So you can do this by writing uname dash and there you go. So you're going to want to get an image with x86 _64. Now if we go back here and look for which one it is for operating system, we go ahead and download. So I'm going to take this one, the 64-bit, because this is a PC, and then I'll go ahead and download. Some of you may want to go ahead and do the flat pack. I am going to stick with the Ubuntu. I've already installed mine, so I won't go ahead and reinstall it here, but it's pretty straightforward. You'll go ahead and you'll run the image. Once you go ahead and you open it up, you'll go ahead and just run this, and you can walk through the wizard, and it's pretty straightforward. Like, you're just going to want to go ahead and do that. What you'll want to do, make sure is you get the code and your passcode so that the other computer that you want connecting goes ahead and has that. Now, one more thing before we move on, you just want to make a note of this. You're going to want to run a command line here so that you can go ahead and get your IP as well. You do not need to switch over to anything else. I just did it because I had this command over here. So you can run this on any terminal, and you can just copy the command from my screen right here, which is hostname-i. You're going to want to get your IP address, and then just make sure you take a note of that. After you have your IP, the next step is logging into the machine you actually want to work from. So I'll be seeing you guys in a moment on my MacBook. All right, we're back. And you'll notice how my PC looks a little bit different here. The first thing you're going to want to do is you'll want to go ahead and install RustDesk on your MacBook as well, because you're going to use that to connect to your desktop if you ever need to. There are going to be occasions when you do, so you just want to be able to go ahead and download it. It's going to be pretty straightforward. Just find the version you need for yourself. If you're on a MacBook Pro like me, you'll just want to download the first image. With Windows, you're going to want to check to make sure that you get the appropriate one. I think that majority of you are probably going to need the 64, but just make sure you don't need the 32-bit image. But after you get that, if you have troubles, just go ahead and Google it. But after that, it's just pretty straightforward. And you'll be able to connect with your Ubuntu server or your PC and reduce a lot of the clutter on your desktop. You don't need extra monitors and keyboards for this particular server, especially because you're just going to be sending it commands and they can go ahead and do it in itself, so you don't really need to be watching it 24/7. But let's get to the most important aspect. I think that this is probably where you're going to go ahead and have the most value, because you're going to need to go ahead and send the commands. And you can do that to Telegram, but for some other things, you can go ahead and use SSH. And you're going to see different ways that you can use SSH. And they're going to be a lot easier to work with than you may think. So all this setup has been just to go ahead and do this part. But that being said, if you are in a MacBook, you already have SSH enabled. Windows users, you're going to need to do a little bit more work. I would Google search that, but you just need to enable it and make sure that you can go ahead and receive it. But once you do, the only real thing that you need to do to connect to your machine is do SSH. If you put a unique port, you're going to do -P and you're going to put that port number. But if you didn't specify any other ports and you just went ahead and wanted to use port 22, which is the default, then you don't need to do this part. For future reference, like whenever you do something with slash anything like a slash p or slash l, essentially like what you're doing is you're adding a flag, and so from here on out, I'm just going to reference them as flags. And so the next part of the command is the account name that you have made in Ubuntu. So if your account name was like Alex, then it'll be Alex at the IP address that you got at the end before we switched over to this computer. And when you go ahead and you press enter, it's going to ask you for your password, and that password is going to be the password for that same account. So you want to go ahead and all right, and you'll want to connect. So once you do have that connection, it's going to be like, great, how is this going to help me? Or can I go ahead and like, use this? Well, iTerm is only one way that you can connect. We'll talk about IDEs right now. This is Cursor. So this is one IDE that is currently out. I think anti-gravity is also one that's really interesting right now. You can modify your files. You can add and install applications. You can send them to Telegram. If something you do need to go ahead and do personally, then you have this. You can go ahead and go through the IDE, which makes it a lot easier to work with files in a system. And this is how you do. You go ahead and here and you connect with SSH. So you want to click this button, select a profile, and enter your password. Once you log in, you'll have something like this. From here, you can now go ahead and open up directories inside of your server, and you'll even have the terminal. So you can run Cloud Code from the terminal right here. So I'll go ahead and open this video so you can kind of see how it'll look. You click OK to open the directory you want, and then just let it connect. And then you'll notice how Cloud Code now on the left side will have these directories. And it doesn't have a terminal, but if this disappears, just go ahead and go to terminal at the top, and you go ahead and you click like a new terminal. But from here, you can go ahead and move around. You can run Cloud Code here, as I said earlier, and you can go ahead and make modifications here, make installations for anything you may need. And in the near future, we're going to go ahead and install a few other things in the server, and you can just do them right here from Cursor or any ID you want. Alright everyone, that is the end of this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, you take care. Bye.